All right, this is the beginning of the racing career. 1995. The second car I actually had at the track, it was the 1980 Volkswagen Dasher Diesel was the first one, and this one was the next upgrade.
Great.
The Dasher Diesel was a 4-speed, fun to drive, but and the first couple cars bring down a quarter mile. Just kind of get used to going down the quarter mile. You see 1910, there's some Cambird shots filling in the gaps. This is the next version of my race car. That would be the Olds Cutlass, 77 Olds Cutlass. My father came across it, $185. You could pretty much put your thumb in the trunk because it had so much rust on it. But I hear my father egging me on. That's me wearing his motorcycle helmet as well. So, but I had probably well over 200 runs in that car, and I learned a lot in that car about rollout and how much you can do in 21 seconds, 20 and a half seconds. Some more Cambird stuff, got the blue valve covers, but this is me at the time booth. My father
Looks good.
escorted me to the track, and we had fun with it. You know, this is, what was it? This is 95, I would say, 95.
Playing with what you got, right?
Yep, 95 or 96, so, 19, 20 years old, not a lot of money, I was still going to school. So, first, the beginnings of finding out what the track is all about.
There's the Cambird.
Some later Cambird shots. This is the first version of the Cambird. This is fresh off the purchase, I believe. Probably purchased it earlier that year, May, I would say. This is late June. You look at it now, and the
Just adding a picture there.
yes, you look at it now, and of course, the evolution of knowledge. I would change a lot of things in the car. But it's a '68 Firebird with a same generation Camaro nose, which is a little bit cheaper to buy. That's why that was on the car. They called it the Cambird, and learned a lot in that car. This is the first day. It was probably like low 90s. That trailer is made out of quarter plate steel, homemade trailer. You can actually see where the guy cut it with the torch and welded some spindles on the sides for the wheels. Single, it wasn't even, it was a single axle trailer. But one of the spindles broke off probably third or fourth time to the track on Route 18 as it started to rain. Went on an off ramp, and the left side of the trailer just started dragging, so we knew something was an issue. The left spindle just broke off, so then we upgraded to a trailer that's not homemade.
SpaghettiOs.
Yeah. This was me wearing my Jersey City State. I was playing baseball at the time. This is 97. Eating an egg sandwich, very popular position.
Stalin CRT TV.
You'll notice stuff like that. That might be Andrew Hinckley in the background with his S10. I could be wrong. This is me getting the car. Really, at this point, I have only driven the car 10, 12 feet up and down the driveway. Really haven't even gone through the gears or anything. So right now I'm setting my distance record right now. But you see this, thank you. You see the stickers on the front. Really doesn't look like a car. I modified that later. You got some sort of odd explosion of triangles on the hood for some reason.
I don't know.
Pixelization.
Cambird died there.
Yes. Getting in the car first time. Blonde hair. Started in there.
With the mushroom Super Mario cut, too.
Yes. That is Louis Bloom announcing. I remember that. Talking about the Daubers. This is the first burnout with the car. Got the line lock.
First burnout ever, yeah?
Sure. I don't think Mom and Dad would be pleased with me doing it in the driveway.
So.
All right. But it was a pretty mild, small block Chevy. It was 300, I think, a 60 over 350, so 355 cubic inches in that area. Steel heads, nothing exotic. But jumping from, I previously had a Buick Regal in between the Oldsmobile and this car, and that Regal eventually got it to like 15.2, 15.3. So you jump from that to this, which is a legitimate 11-second car. As I stage, you can hear a little hesitation there. That's my head bouncing off the main hoop of the roll bar. But the plan was to go to the 8th mile, go through the gears, shut it down, but you're next to somebody, you don't want to lose. 12, 20, 113, and you're knocking 3 seconds off. It's a huge difference in acceleration. It shocks you.
Well, having a concussion is a little extra bonus.
Sure. I got out of there and took my smelling salts and moved on. This is interesting. Yeah, this is interesting. This is a C Econo dragster from, if memory serves me correct, and the only woman driver of the C Econo dragster, I believe, is Pam Miskowski here in Division 1. And I say that because it's cool, I'm against her, and I see actually how fast a 7-second car is relative to what speed I'm going. But at the end, my car stalled out, and I was actually stuck on the track trying to push. The car weighs 2,800 pounds without me, and it's still a pretty heavy car. Pam got out of her dragster and actually hopped onto the track and helped me push the car off, which was really neat. My first exposure to kind of the racing community. And
kind of looking out for each other.
Sure, always.
That's nice. What you doing now? Do you know?
She still races in Division 1. I see her from time to time. I got the opportunity to announce her a few times. That's why that name pops in my head.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Do you ever talk to her about that?
No, and actually now you bring it up.
Well, maybe now you will.
Yeah, maybe now I will. It's a good idea. She won't remember. Well, I don't know.
She sees the video. Like, I remember that.
Yeah. Maybe she'll watch me. I could friend her on Facebook and see what happens. So that was the second run, almost an 11. I believe it's 12:0 something. But her quarter mile time was pretty close to my 8th mile time. So when I was going past half track, she was going through the finish line 7:77, which is under the C Econo dragster index for the time, I'm sure. And I still am unsure of what Chevrolet product that is on the near side, but love seeing those cars. You see the home paint job and everything. That's what this type of bracket racing and weekend stuff is about, is making your own stuff, bringing it to the track and having fun with it. Mm-hmm. So Tom Bresco in between there. That could be Paul Bailey. Maybe not. I don't know. This is level 10 days, I believe. Level 10 shirts. This is 97 again. So I decided to sit on the starting line a little bit and focus on staging a little bit more on that run, and it did net my first 11-second ET. That was pretty neat. 11:92, 1:15.
Yeah, you must have been freaked out. I mean, you really don't know what you're doing, kind of, sort of?
I knew how to shift. I had a general idea, but staging I really didn't know. From the Oldsmobile, I got an idea of rollout, but I should have started my procedure early. I should have loaded up the converter a little bit early and then roll in.
Yeah, I guess
just letting off the brake.
There's got to be a lot less room for error compared to a car that's running half that speed.
Sure, absolutely. Staging process is always critical.
Plus, I don't think the previous car.
Right. There you go. So that one, I kind of let it go because revved it way too high. I don't even know what my burnout chip was on. It sounded like it was well over 6,000, 6,500 in that area. But right. So this one, you can see I rolled a little bit there before I actually left. So I was probably, the clock started before I matted it and started to accelerate, kind of rolled through the brakes. So, and this pass was, I believe, at the finish line where my back window blew out and flopped around and went onto the spectator grass.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have that on video.
Right. That's because I guess the battery went there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always nice to have your defeats on tape, but unfortunately,
I know. It shattered pretty good, and they just kept racing.
Yeah.
This is a Friday night.
Pieces for souvenirs.
Yeah. Friday night, Rick Mattioli, the original owner of the car, actually came with me because we discussed what the car was running. He's like, it shouldn't be going that slow. So he came and decided to give me a couple pointers tonight. This is me making a run. Rick Mattioli, Division 1 very accomplished racer on the other side, still races that car in a different version of itself. Now it's tubbed, goes a lot faster, goes low nines, so 1192. Yep, so you put big tires in the back. Back halved and tubbed, yeah. So this is actually the original owner driving the car. I went 1192. I think he went 1171, something like that. He is 30, 40 pounds lighter. So with that and him staging properly, there's your about 2/10 difference between us.
So he sure showed you.
Oh, yeah. Nah, it was just... in most cars, unfortunately, the advertised times, like, the car goes low 11s, goes this. Really not always the case.
Right.
Because the car might have been sitting. There's a lot of variables that go into that, but you just hope for the best. And the important thing is when you get a car, first you got to make that first important step, and then you kind of go through the trials and tribulations. That's where you really learn what's going on, how things work, how to drive the car. Still getting used to the burnout.
There's no guarantee, right?
Yeah, there's never a guarantee of race cars, but it's something you got to go out and listen to it idle, and
Yeah, I guess you get an idea and have a goal. I guess.
Goal was at this point was basically get into a race car, get into a faster car. And I always wanted to
get
do
into a real race car.
Yeah.
Versus the one that's covered in rust or runs 22 seconds.
Yeah, that just gives you experience, and it's Raceway Park so flat. It's
still flat,
and it gives you an element of speed. This is another run that night. I think this is no time for the other lane, so they don't show the time. But just learning the car and getting accustomed to things. I really never touched the carburetor. I didn't really touch much on the car. I think I changed the oil in the driveway on pea gravel. That was a blast. I think this is also later that night. I believe this is an 1180. Not to spoil it for everybody, but it's not that spectacular. Funny car spectacular, so that you can get an idea, time reference at Raceway Park. So it's 97, so this is, I believe, July or August of 97, based on that sign. 638 light, I believe 500 was perfect at the time, still didn't transition to 000. August 8th, that was close. August 8th, I believe, is another Friday night when they're open on Fridays. This may be a Sunday. I think this might be I'm not sure. You can go back. That's Alex Knapp, Tom Rasco, and I want to say George Kelly. I could be wrong. And that's a fire extinguisher. And what looks to be a broken golf club next to it.
I think that's a samurai sword.
It could be. And there's one of the many Mustangs that I race. It's a LX version.
I'm always with the Mustangs. That's interesting.
So 11-17, same combination, same everything. You're in the middle of August or early August, so it's going to be hot and muggy out, so the car's going to go a little bit slower. In this creation, this is probably an 1160 to 1180 car, somewhere in that ballpark. I don't know why I took the valve covers off between rounds, but I did, and I don't believe I tightened it. As Tom notices it first, and Alex was the last to notice. There he is. Now everybody says get off the track. First time that happened. So I was like, oh man.
Yeah, you told me it's good for you.
Yeah, it's demoralizing. But, they do it for a reason.
It's got to happen once.
That's George's toy in the water box. Didn't notice that ever.
What's
second generation Camaro, that second generation Camaro, they had the red car in the other lane. He was racing at the age of 80 in 2014, 15, somewhere in there.
Wow.
Yeah, George Tights.
That's neat.
This is I want to say a different evening, and this is when I noticed something wrong. It just felt like it was down on power. You really didn't have a noise or anything, but I knew something was askew. When you make runs, if it's just even a tenth or two off, as a driver, you notice certain things. You notice that it takes a little bit longer to get to the shift points. So I knew something was off. Let me see the time if I was correct. 15 something? 14 something. Who knows? We're just dancing around the camera, apparently.
It's got to be a dad.
He's getting tickled, I guess. So it was, I think I shut off at like half track, something like that. And I just knew something wasn't right. A couple friends noticed that it was there. This is a lot of, Friday nights were a big deal, especially with the Mustang. Hey, here's a Mustang. GT trim this time, different Mustang. A lot of the Mustang Grand National challenges were on Friday. Those were really big deals.
I guess around that time, that was the time where people were giving up on those cars and just turning into race cars.
No, a lot of street cars. The aftermarket was exploding at that point with Mustang stuff.
So that was didn't they stop that model like in the mid-90s, right?
Fox body, I think 94 was the last year.
Right.
Transition. The motor transition was 96, I think was the first of the different
Until they got
5.0s.
even worse.
Yeah, opinions vary. So after that one, I knew something was wrong. You could hear me on and off the gas. There's me very bulbous in my single layer fire jacket. Messing with the timing. I didn't have a timing light. It didn't, like it was 1974 rolling around saying, oh, that sounds good. But if you rev a motor that's not under load, you're really not going to notice much. Once it gets under load and you start asking it to do work, that's when you know there's a problem. So I'm kind of moving the timing around so it seems right, and it just wasn't. It ended up being a bent push rod. I believe maybe 2 bent push rods.
Ooh.
So that means
That's a lot
just that
worse.
it means the valve's either not opening or opening not as much as it should, intake or exhaust. All right, so this is later that night. I did a little twisting, and it did nothing as it should. Should have taken the valve covers off, checked the valve train. I didn't. You can see it's like barely struggling to do a burnout. That's basically the same throttle control I would use, and you can see it's just lacking that much power where it's doesn't have the power to get power out of the burnout. I think that's a BMW on the near side. Racer 4580. And here I have that stuttering on the starting line. I put the 2-step on a horn button so I would load the converter up. I set it at like 3,000 or so. And I mapped the gas a few times and just 510 light, that's nice. Stumbled through the finish line at 14:18.98. So that prompted me to basically redo everything. New wheels, new tires. Not a new rear yet. This still has 26 spline axles. Later on, I snap a left axle in the left lane and go right to the wall later this year as I race on the Mustang GT. But now it has good Brodix aluminum heads, a little bit lumpier cam, which who knows what cam was in it previously. That's something else if you don't know what you're buying. Turbo 400 trans, 5,000-ish stall converter. Sounds like a power glide on this run, but it's not. I just didn't bottom the shifter out to get it into first. It started off in second, and again, the plan is to go to the 8th mile, but things happen. That was 1150, 118. So I'm underneath, trying to get the trans into first and adjusting the linkage so that it coordinates to first gear where my shifter's in first gear. I had that toolbox for probably 18 years. Oh, I remember, and this was good. The positive and negative terminal on the fan, I believe the top one was positive, kind of wiggled its way out and dropped itself onto the negative. They were both exposed, unfortunately. So it shorted out and basically took all the sheathing off of the wire, and it ran it all the way to my control panel, which ran across my nylon oil pressure sender, burnt the hole in that, so I had pressurized oil being sprayed on my feet. So all those things going on, I decided to say, all right, wait a minute, all right, stop. I shut the fuel pump off, so all that melting basically touched the leads on the fuel pump, so the fuel pump was always on as long as my main power was on. So I'm like, oh my god, I kind of panicked. But I said, all right, well, it's getting fuel. I have ignition, so let's make it run anyway. So I just turned the back power on. Probably not the best idea. Oil all over my feet. Oil on the brake pedal, the gas pedal, everything. Because I really had to beat this Dodge Dakota in the other lane.
Oh, yeah, he was asking for it.
Yeah, it certainly is. And on this run, it's weird because it stays on the horn button. Granted, it was a Pep Boys horn button, and not intended for any use such as this. So I think the button stuck a little bit, and it wouldn't get off at 3,000 for a moment. So you'll see the hesitation at the beginning of the run. I did manage to beat the Dakota though, somehow. Dakota Sport.
Oh, that's much better.
See how it kind of hangs there for a moment. Ran a good mile an hour, like 117, 118, I think, somewhere in there. But it's making substantially more horsepower, probably 50 to 80 horsepower more, somewhere in that ballpark, 117. That was comp limited in 1995. That was erased. That was a wheel-standing Maverick Supermod. Oh. Here's later that night, kind of getting things ironed out. Quickest run ever for the car up until this point with the new combination. Gearing stayed the same too. I didn't have a really vast understanding of gearing at that point. I mean, it's easy to figure out once you sit down and look at numbers, but left the same gearing in. So this is 98 again, still kind of getting used to stuff. I don't know if I'd enter eliminations. At this point, I'm running gamblers from time to time. All-American Jet Car Nationals, that is in August. Used to be All-American Jet Car Nationals and Nitro scores on these stalls. Get a chance to announce a few of those races. Those were a good time. Walter Fry, Andrew. So let's hear me on the horn button.
What's with the horn button?
Something just to close the circuit. That's all it is. For it to go on the two-step, it needs to see 12 volts, or the range is like 10 to 12 volts, or actually 10 to 18 volts sometimes. So it's just something to close the circuit. Nice big. I could have actually spent a little bit more and got an actual button, but yeah. I don't even know where I was working at that point. I was working at the daycare center, actually, making maybe $180 a week, so things are a little bit tight. Putting fuel in the car and the tow vehicle was an accomplishment at this point. So this is probably the same night again. I believe this is you filming, and a friend of mine was there. Spins the tires pretty good. I don't know who's announcing. I think Walter Fry is announcing, I want to say. You can see it kind of hobble around a little bit. I later put a scoop on the car, get rid of the triangulation on the hoods, although it's very, very artsy. 11:28, almost 120 miles an hour, so, you know, you're talking about 4 or 5 mile an hour quicker. It's substantial. So here's me at the water pit for some reason again. I think I saw a lot of videos of that. I never had to spray down the car, never got hot. Checking the tire pressure there for who knows why.
We'll figure that out.
And I believe this is you mocking me.
Tires.
What'd you run? You just thought it was like a thing you had to do?
Somewhere in the 8s.
Yeah. I don't know. I could have just brought the car to the trailer. I don't know.
880. Should have been a 60.
That's what, as an announcer, I always encourage people to watch other racers first. Don't just get in the car and go to the starting line. Those are the people that drive directly up to the tree and stare at it like this. Instead of going to the stage beams.
Oh my God, now what?
Yeah, sit in the stands for a few minutes. And I've watched racing for, what am I at this point, 22 years old. So I've been watching since I was 7, 8 years old going to the track. So I know the process. So apparently I thought the thing to do was to go to the water pit. Maybe I thought magic happened there. Maybe I picked power-ups there or something. I don't know.
Those little gnomes that come out.
Yeah. Who knows?
How is it? It's good.
But I did upgrade my jacket from the white one. The white one was really paper. It's all single-layer stuff when you go in this ET bracket. So nothing exotic, nothing real expensive.
There's other stuff on there.
That's just what they require, I guess.
Yeah. It's still a Cambird. Still has the same nose on it. Later this year, I believe I put a hood scoop on it. Picks up a bunch. Do a couple other things. And eventually, it was a high 10-second car. You'll see it launches a lot different as this episode moves along. A little burnout in reverse there. Those lights I do get rid of as well. If you're gonna put headlights in the car, kind of make it look like a car instead of something out of a cartoon. Just my opinion, but
well, it does have that nice light blue color that my 86 Ford Tempo had.
That's true.
Either that or anyone's bathtub.
That's important, yes. I guess the original owner was going for that. I think he bought it with this color, so that's his excuse. And my excuse is the same as his excuse. So yeah, I didn't. I buffed it out, made it as good as it could be, but you know, it's still pretty 80s looking. But who cares? Ran down the track. Did well. Was pretty successful with it. That horn button is not allowed in what is now Pro ET, and I didn't know that. I was in, I believe, the semifinal round, and I was notified of that in the semifinal round and kicked out, which I would have approached it different, but hey, it's all good. Once you start winning a little bit, now you go. It's just like any category in drag racing. Once you start winning a little bit, you're under a magnifying glass or microscope, however you want to look at it.
But checking out your cheating.
Yeah, that is considered cheating in
you're just doing
pro
what you're supposed to do.
or heavy at the time. No, that was considered cheating, and I was wrong. But if I was notified, I would have changed it, or I should have read the rule book. So it was ultimately my fault. You hear that, racers? I'm taking responsibility. I'm not complaining about it.
I didn't know.
That's right. You didn't tell me about it.
It's everyone else's fault.
Yes. You didn't let me know.
It's not my fault.
Yep. Hey, it's another Mustang. I think it's another Mustang GT, 88, 89, somewhere in there.
Of course. Right.
So there's a guy in a first-generation Camaro trying to leave his crankshaft in the burnout box. I raced behind them a few times. And he did huge burnouts, and then it seemed like the carburetor was loaded up with fuel. He tried to leave the starting line, it would die, and he'd start up 100 feet out and then take off, just like you're hearing now. Tom's going out there and seeing if there's any guts of the car, and there is nothing. We get back underway at racing. It's the roughest time to have an oil down or a stoppage in racing, because you get into a rhythm, you do your burnout, and you got your procedure, you got your mindset, and all of a sudden you just got to sit there. You don't know how long you got to wait. Granted, this is a time trial. It means nothing ultimately, but the racers think alike. They have the routine. They want to do the same thing every time. That's how you win. You can't alter it. You got to take your brain out of it. You want to make it second nature. So I changed tire pressures, and the car did exactly the same thing. The same little bucking you saw from the half-track angle was that same thing. You could hear the tires slip and grip too as well. 1131, 119. Still good mile an hour, healthy. 99. This is the year I played professional baseball in Missouri, so I watched this video many, many times. So I changed the mufflers, put a scoop on the car. Those were Dad's mufflers. The SLP, single in, single out, but they're a 3-inch. They're big. So they're made for the third generation Camaro, where the muffler is underneath the trunk. It's Andrew Hinckley announcing, and he does remember the Cambird before he knew me.
As do I.
He did, thank goodness. Car moves around a little bit, but I could have, exaggerated a little bit. I made a correction, kind of washed out a little bit. With bias ply tires, the back's going to waffle and react differently to your steering input. So I decided to shut it down. And there was a chance of rain today. I remember that. That was, I think, the first. Scotty Godano in the background, I believe that was. And this is the second run. I believe this is Advanced Trophy. One of the classes we had at the time. There was Advanced Trophy, and then there was, I think it was still called Heavy at the time. So this is about to be the quickest run I made with the car. I believe it goes 11:01. Horn button fails me. You can hear it. I try to get on the horn button, and the car kind of lunges and goes through instead of horn button helping hold it back. Nauseating. Mopar Parts Nationals. There you go. Lunged. I reversed. No panic. If this were first round, I should have been DQ'd, but it's not. It's just a time shot, Federal Mogul Series. Still playing with tire pressures.
Definitely a better front end than with the
yes. Yeah, I didn't notice that. That's nicer. Yeah, simpler. It looks kind of, it just, you want to, in my opinion, you want at a glance to look like a car for a moment. There's the 1101 120. Now, this is nice. One of the better nights on film I have with the Cambird. And I raced some people that, a little sponsor there, racing some people that most regular racers at Englishtown know. That first guy is awesome Don Arneson. That's right, awesome. Very successful racer. He also has a GoPro in his car and films every round in his car, and he had a YouTube channel that he posted his stuff on, which is really neat.
Yeah, we should try that.
Maybe one day we'll have the equipment to do so. So horn button is legal. This is a gambler's race. I want to say 35. He was 60 something. Car is very consistent. It's now running the high 10s. dialed to 1092, went to 1093, dumped it a little bit at the top.
You did a little worse.
So I thought I would have gone a 1089, That's why I loaded my dial in for the next round. This guy, the tube chassis Firebird I'm racing. At this point, I remember earlier, I think it was 97 or 98, I raced Bob Mulaney once, and I learned more in that one run on how to run the top end than I have my entire racing career. And he was racing a gremlin of sorts. And I had this conversation with him while we're on the mic, too. I just had to control backing into somebody and had to take just enough at the top. We're both in now. He goes in deep. He's a little bit quicker than me. I think he was like a 1040, 50 something in that ballpark. So I think staging philosophy is very different now than it is then. But I remember looking over. I looked over really late. Now I look over a lot earlier on the faster car. So I backed in him. Actually, no, that was he broke out, and I got the winner now. And this one, Steve Sisko is on the near side of the track. Another racer, very accomplished, a former Summer Nationals winner at Raceway Park in Super Comp.
He had that thong song, too.
Right. It's a C. He's a mess. So I know he's going in deep, so I kind of hang out and pre-stage a little bit. I'm on my two-step. Still on my two-step. Still on my two-step. He bounces it in. I think he was 80-something, I was 60-something. Yeah. Put a nose out in front of him, dumped it a little bit. But at this point, the car was very hot. I didn't take the hood off to see why. Because I just hoped it would clear itself up magically. I have a little Moroso drive on my water pump that stopped working, therefore no water circulating through the motor. So at this point I'm a little over 200 degrees, so I do an abbreviated burnout. This is fourth round. Racing a really clean first generation Camaro, 68 I believe. Don't know the racer's name, but he was nice enough. You'll see in the next scene of him coming over and see what's going on. Because as racers you help each other. Now they notice the water. Thanks, guys. I would have driven through it. It's Tom doing his job. Track crew doing a great job. So water is in the overflow right now because it's boiling. I do have water in there, not antifreeze, as dedicated race cars should. See him make a run, kind of. So idle in front of the pits, and you can hear, I want to say Paul Bailey doing some announcing here. This is the Ultra Quick 8 Day, so it was probably a Friday night. I hear Merkel's in the final against Richie George.
Scott Merkel versus Richie George.
Yeah, I believe so.
Richie George getting lane choice.
So I'm walking to him, he's walking to me. We're like, oh, what's going on? That's the updated trailer. That thing was awesome. Awesome meaning it didn't fall apart.
It's a plus.
There's water. So I sold the Cambird in 2001. No film in 2000.
Diagnose it for you.
It's one of my 50 ESPN shirts, and I'm just explaining what's going on.
Spins the water pump is not working.
And that is all. Thanks for watching.
Nice. ESPN's close to saying penis.
Are you done?
Nope. I'm never done.